A top story this hour, and Israel's Supreme Court has reduced former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert's prison term to 18 months in a bribery case. Olmert had been earlier sentenced to 6 years behind bars. He will still be the first former head of government in Israel to be imprisoned. Now, the conviction is related to a major real estate deal when Olmert was the mayor of Jerusalem. Let's go now to West Jerusalem, where our correspondent Imtiaz Taib is standing by for us. Imtiaz, when will Olmert be starting his sentence?
Yeah, Fawzia, a very dramatic development in which former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert will be making a sort of history he never hoped he would, which is to become the first Israeli Prime Minister who will serve a jail sentence which will start on the 15th of February next year. Now, few believe that Mr. Olmert would serve the 6-year sentence that he was first given 18 months ago. But the fact that this sentence has been reduced to 18 months is still no less shocking. The fact is that an Israeli Prime Minister, once an extremely popular Israeli Prime Minister, is going to jail. And the reason he's going to jail is because he's been convicted of fraud involving the Holy Land housing development. And this housing development is quite controversial here in West Jerusalem. Many say it blights the skyline of this part of the city. It's very different from anything that you've seen. It's a series of tall buildings capped off by a very tall building. And many believe that it's out of step with what you would normally see in West Jerusalem, which has a fairly specific building code. Whatever the case, as we've been saying, Mr. Olmert is going to jail, and he's likely to spend 18 months behind bars.
Now, Imtiaz, as you mentioned, quite a popular prime minister during his time in office. He will be the first prime minister to go behind bars in Israel. What's been the reaction to this case?
Well, I think shock, to be honest with you, although this is a case that has been trundling through the courts for quite a while. As we've been saying, few believe that Mr. Olmert would go to jail for 6 years, but the fact that he is going to jail, I think, has surprised many people. Still, this isn't the last of his legal problems. In another case, another fraud case, Mr. Olmert is looking at a second sentence, which could see him go to jail for up to 8 months. So he's had an awful lot of legal problems for a very long time. This is a case that has been followed not only by the Israeli media, but the people of Israel for quite a long time since it happened. As you said, a very popular and well-known prime minister. But again, as we've been saying, he is going to be serving this 18-month sentence from February of next year. But there is this other case, again, involving fraud, in which he's accused of accepting cash in envelopes, quite literally, that could see him serve a further 8 months in prison.
Imtiaz, thank you. Imtiaz Taib there on our breaking news. Former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert sentenced to 18 months in jail.
I'm the leading state sponsor of terrorism.